We're in the end game now. Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to another episode of Packcast, the podcast where you don't have to be Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. It's finally week 18, Grossi, and today we are going to be ranking the top 10 teams heading into the final week of the NFL regular season, and oh boy, it's getting a little dicey. Yes, there are, of course, the number one seeds have been clinched. You have the 49ers in the NFC. You have the Ravens in the AFC. And a bunch of other spots have also been wrapped up. However, heading into Week 18, there's still a lot up for grabs, including those two primetime games. And before we get in to the top 10, I gotta do my honorable mentions. The first and second, playing on Saturday night, I gotta shout out the Indianapolis Colts and the Houston Texans, both with big wins this past week, and now they're getting a primetime game on Saturday, and it's honestly just phenomenal. The fact that last year, Week 18, these two teams were playing for whoever's gonna get the number one overall pick in the draft, and now they might be playing for the frackin' division and to see who's going into the postseason. So CJ Stroud back with the Texans, Gardner Minshew and Jonathan Taylor rocking with the Colts. Who's going to win it? I don't know, but whoever does, welcome to the top 10. But for now, let's start off with number 10, and I can't believe they're on it again. You got the Pittsburgh Steelers. And you might say, Tom, whoa, the Steelers? How are they making it into the top 10? And here's what I'm going to tell you. One, I'm 100% biased because, damn, they helped out the Green Bay Packers by defeating the Seattle Seahawks. So thank you, Pittsburgh. A job well done. But legitimately, this team has been much better with Mason Rudolph, establishing the run game, of course, but Rudolph just seems to have a control of that offense that hasn't been there. So much so that regardless of Kenny Pickett's injury status, Mason Rudolph is going to be starting next week, and the Steelers could still make it into the postseason. Considering I had all the problems with George Pickens, of course you had Trubisky starting for a while, Mike Tomlin somehow, someway, has once again willed his team to be over 500.
I am inevitable.
So I gotta give him a shout out. And of course, their defense is still really good. And I gotta be honest, any AFC North team that's in the playoffs, looking at you, Ravens and Browns, they should not want the Steelers anywhere near the postseason because it doesn't matter who else is in there. As long as there's another AFC North team in the playoffs, nobody in the North is safe. And so, Steelers, you land yourself at number 10. Playoffs are on the line next week. Let's see if Steelers go to Super Bowl. Number 9, you got the LA Rams, dropping just a tiny bit because they were in a nail-biter against the New York Giants, and Mason Crosby was this close for helping the Green Bay Packers and potentially eliminating the Rams. But nay, the Rams, they're in the playoffs. And if you ask the Rams how they got into the postseason after just one rebuilding year, I imagine this is their answer.
Just, lucky, I guess.
Because I can't fracking explain it. But I got to give a huge shout out to the Rams. Stafford's been playing well. The offensive line, which was abysmal last year, looks much better. They have a run game. Kyron Williams is looking great. Of course, you have Cooper Kupp. Puka Nacua has been outstanding, shattering records left and right. And the Rams, they are a dangerous football team. I mean, hell, they went toe-to-toe with the Ravens a couple weeks ago. Now, I would like them to be a little bit more consistent, like the game against the Giants is a little bit concerning. But then again, who doesn't have flaws in the NFC right now? And so the Rams, they have clinched a playoff spot, and I don't think any team necessarily wants to face them because Matthew Stafford can get hot, and they could be a little bit of a problem in this year's playoffs. So Rams, you're sitting at number 9. You clinched a playoff spot. Congratulations. Number 8. Welcome back, Kansas City. You got the Kansas City Chiefs. You did it. It was ugly. It was an ugly season. But for the 8th time in a row, you've won the AFC West.
Another happy landing.
And this was another close game in which the Bengals almost had the Chiefs there. It was this close, but the Chiefs defense really the difference maker here. Of course, Rashee Rice having a great game, and I've shouted out Rice a lot in these power rankings, and especially in predictions as well, because he's kind of been that bright spot on the offense when it comes to receivers, because everybody else, MVS is dropping balls. Travis Kelce seems to have disappeared, is also getting doubled all the time. And now the Chiefs, regardless of what has happened, have made it into the postseason, where they're gonna be a dangerous team. Sure, they could get knocked out in the wild card round, but the Chiefs with Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, they have plenty of experience. And again, that nasty defense can cause problems. So I am very curious to see how far Kansas City is going to go. You can't bet against them, and maybe we've been waiting all year for that Kansas City team to reemerge of what we've seen in past years. Maybe that's gonna happen in the postseason. Who knows? But all I know right now, Chiefs, welcome back. You're at number 8. Number 7, a bit of a tumble. You got the Miami Dolphins, and oof, just a heartbreaker for the Dolphins. And Mike McDaniel is just looking for any reason as to why the Dolphins just got blown out by the Ravens.
It was all that Dan Marino's fault. Everyone knows that.
Place is out, Dan. But legitimately, the Dolphins, they just got smacked by Lamar Jackson. The defense could not stop the Ravens offense at all. Lamar Jackson throwing 5 touchdowns, couldn't stop the run game. And even worse, Bradley Chubb getting injured. And it just seems like all these things are collapsing on the Dolphins at once, and it is getting scary in Miami. And now they have a date with the Buffalo Bills on Sunday Night Football to see who is going to win the division. And yeah, Miami, I'm concerned for you. I know Josh Allen is a little bit banged up right now, but the Dolphins have an opportunity here that they need to seize. While their record has been great all year, of course, beating teams over 500 has not come easy for the Dolphins. And I'm hoping that because Mostert was out, maybe that limited the run game a little bit, even though Achane ran away with things. Maybe you get Mostert back, you're going to have that dual combo, and of course you have Tyreek Hill and Tua, who are usually playing pretty damn well. But right now, the Dolphins are sitting at number 7, trying to hold on. And let's see what you do against the Buffalo Bills. Number 6, you got the Detroit Lions. Didn't drop them down too far, especially after the crap that was that Saturday game. They went toe-to-toe with the Cowboys on Saturday, and unfortunately, after some bad calls, lost that game. And of course, there was the tripping call with Dallas that was called against the Cowboys that shouldn't have. And let's just be honest here. The refs, they sucked. They're awful. They shouldn't be anywhere near the postseason. And I have to imagine the refs were looking at the Lions sideline after that call and saying this.
Surprise, idiots. You're all in the bad place.
The refs and Lions, biggest rivalry in the NFL. But legitimately, I think the Lions are going to be okay. And if there's a rematch in the postseason, I wouldn't be surprised if the Lions came away with the victory. Now, I will say, because the 49ers wound up getting the 1 seed and the Eagles lost, the Lions could be missing out on the potential 2 seed, which is frustrating to say the least if you're a Lions fan. But let's be very honest. They went toe-to-toe with the Cowboys. They almost won that game. And at points, they should have won that game. But ultimately, they fell short in the regular season. Now you have a very, very pissed off Dan Campbell and Lions squad, and I imagine they're going to take out that aggression against the Minnesota Vikings next week, and they will be very hot heading into the playoffs, and from there, we'll see what happens. Number 5, you got the Dallas Cowboys. Again, not too much movement for the Cowboys based off the results on Saturday. And what I saw removing from the refs was just a good game. CeeDee Lamb, of course, being incredible. Dak played pretty well. And that defense, for the most part, was able to contain everybody besides CeeDee Lamb. And listen, Cowboys fans, you're getting a lot of crap, and I get it. Packers fans, they've been dealing with it too. Any single time the refs make a call that goes their way, you hear all of this stuff, and I know Cowboys fans are getting upset about it, but you just got to embrace it. You really do. You just got to look at the Lions dead in the eye and say,
You're not the real heroes. I'm the real hero.
then again, Homelander is a villain. But the Cowboys, they're looking to secure the division next week with a win over the Commanders since the Eagles lost to the Cardinals, and that is very, very possible. And they may wind up clinching the 2nd overall seed, which means they could be meeting the Green Bay Packers if they make the playoffs, and that would be real interesting. But overall, Dallas, you're remaining in the top 5, and let's see if you can clinch the East. Number 4, You got the Buffalo Bills. The Bills still holding on there, and after an ugly game against the Patriots, in which there was a ton of turnovers before there was even a completed pass. The Bills defense, of course, doing work. However, there was definite some concerns about the Bills offense because they really couldn't move the ball, especially in the beginning of that game against the Patriots defense. But Bills, you've done it. After all the ups and downs and a lot of lows this season, the playoffs are in front of you. You have an opportunity to win next week, defeat the Dolphins, and you're in.
Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for!
Now, as I mentioned before, Josh Allen suffering a stinger in that game against the Patriots, so he is a little bit banged up, and it's all coming down to Sunday Night Football, so the Bills could not be happier about this. The Dolphins, of course, coming off that big loss to the Ravens, and of course, losing some key players. So now, the Bills, this is their opportunity, and the Bills, I think, can be a very dangerous team in the postseason. If Cook can get going and Josh Allen can avoid turnovers, this could be the team that a lot of people don't want to play in the AFC. But I will say again, there's a lot of those teams in the AFC right now. So whoever survives on Sunday night, they are going to have a battle in front of them. But I'm sure Bills fans are just happy for the opportunity. And we will see if Buffalo can go all the way this time. Number 3, you got the San Francisco 49ers, who clinched the number 1 seed. How? The frackin' Cardinals. The 49ers taking care of business against the Commanders, even though it was a bit of a close game for a while. Brock Purdy showing that he's 100% just a system QB with a bunch of his throws. That is a joke. Please don't come after me for that. But legitimately, the 49ers are a great football team. I know they got spanked on Monday Night Football by the Ravens, but I still think they are the best team in the NFC. And now, the road to the Super Bowl through the AFC runs through Santa Clara, and they could not be happier about that. CMC did get a bit banged up in that Commanders game, so they are going to be resting him next week, which makes all the sense in the world because they already clinched the 1 seed. They don't have to play for anything except to avoid some rust heading into the playoffs. And right now, this 49ers team, they're an experienced squad. Of course, they made it to the NFC Championship game last year when they unfortunately lost to Brock Purdy, but Brock Purdy looking pretty damn good against the Commanders, and they're going to need everybody at full strength to be able to take down whoever's coming at them from the NFC. But right now, I think the 49ers should be favorites to go to the Super Bowl representing the NFC, and all they got to do is win 2 more games to get there. Number 2, you got the Cleveland Browns. The Browns, congratulations, baby. You going to the playoffs. Joe Flacco, in one of the craziest stories of the year, being called off the couch. He was with the Jets last year and now beating the Jets on Thursday Night Football to clinch the playoff spot for the Browns. I can imagine that Joe Flacco is throwing some shade at the Jets after that game.
You suck ass. You really do.
And the story of the Browns this year has been an absolutely insane one. The fact that they have suffered so many injuries to quarterbacks, running backs, every side of the ball imaginable. And now they are one of the best teams in the NFL. They've clinched their playoff spot. Their defense is nasty. Their offense is moving it well. Joe Flacco is slinging it out there, looking like he did when the Ravens made a Super Bowl run. And right now, I don't think anybody wants to play the Cleveland Browns in the playoffs, especially if you're not an AFC North team. So the Browns, they punched their ticket. Now it's time to see how far Joe Flacco can really go. And number 1, definitely no surprise here. They were number 1 last week and continue to be this week. You got the Baltimore Ravens. After a 5-touchdown performance by Lamar Jackson against the Dolphins, one name has landed Lamar squarely in that MVP seat.
Here's Johnny.
You know, from the tweet. But holy crap, Ravens. Not only did they embarrass the 49ers, but the Dolphins are one of the best teams in the AFC. and they smoked them. It was a little bit of a close game early on, and then they just ran away with it. Isaiah Likely having a big day. We talked about Lamar Jackson, Gus the Bus Edwards getting involved, and the defense causing turnovers and just making life miserable for that Dolphins offense. And now, because of that, they have clinched the number 1 seed in the AFC. They're AFC North champions, and they get a well-deserved bye week. And now, if teams want to make it to the Super Bowl through the AFC, they got to go through Baltimore, and that is going to be a rough place to play because that atmosphere is going to be electric. You see now what has happened with the Ravens offense when they get some really good receivers, looking at Uzay Flowers. Hell, even OBJ had an amazing catch in that game. Right now, far and away, the Ravens are the best team in the NFL. They look like they are Super Bowl favorites to win the whole damn thing, and they might also get an MVP trophy on top of that for one Lamar Jackson. So Ravens, you're at number 1. And I don't think the media is going to be ignoring you anymore. So just to recap, at number 1, you got the Ravens, 2 Browns, 3 49ers, 4 Bills, 5 Cowboys, 6 Lions, 7 Dolphins, 8 Chiefs, 9 Rams, and 10 Steelers. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. Eagles, I didn't put you on last week. I didn't put you on this week. You know why. But of course, let me know. You know, I saw me at Tom Grossi Comedy, all social media, see down below. A big shout out and thank you to all the patrons and YouTube members for supporting this channel. And thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.